Right, good morning guys, let's get straight into it. So, yesterday played out as we expected here. We traded into our daily sell side imbalance 3 times here on the 4-hour chart, clipping our head on this low volume node each time, progressively making lower highs here. Then again, what have we done? We've come back into our 4-hour buy side imbalance. We tested originally these low volume nodes. We couldn't hold them, so where did we come back down and test? We came back down to test the upper range of the 4-hour buy side imbalance below here, and you can see we clipped perfectly off the bottom here to come back and just make the range as we predicted yesterday in the video, that we'd range here in between these zones, just going between the upper low volume node and the upper range of the buy side imbalance below. That's why I give you this playbook every day, to make it straightforward for you. So if you've been making money this week and following along, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, join the Telegram group, they're the first line in the description, and yeah, that's basically it. But now, what do we do today? So first of all, I can remove this zone at the top. This was just to show you from yesterday because that's no longer relevant. These still do have relevance, so you can keep note of these around 95,800, sorry, and 95,500. But we're going to keep the chart simple. We already have a lot of lines on here, but we can break that up now because we've traded through and we've filled in that imbalance, so it's no longer an imbalance, so it's not relevant. The next zone we have here is underneath, which overlaps with this daily. Obviously the daily, as I mentioned, being the darker color, the 4-hour being the lighter color, dailies having higher confluence because they're higher time frame. And I added 2 more levels in here as well. So more low volume nodes here. There's one at 94,850 and one at around 93,650 here, yeah, 641. So the top one here and this second to bottom one here are new areas of interest that I want to keep an eye on, where I think we will look to trade into, you know, again, should we continue this downtrend. But the first course of action to remain bullish is to hold this 95, let's call it 100 here, at the very top of this green zone, maybe again, retrace down into this first low volume node at just under 95. It would be great to see us hold this and then use this as a springboard essentially to trade in here, you know, maybe even come down to test here and then start to shoot up to retest these higher zones here at 96,800, then trying to fill in that and break through that low volume node again at 97,250. Again, it's not really a low volume node anymore because we've had the breakthrough and we've traded into it a couple of times, but it's just good to have there because that was our resistance previously. It is important to note, however, though, that it's Friday and typically a lot of institutions and a lot of big players will be using this time of the week to de-risk going into the weekend. So price action may be likely to go towards the downside. Again, that's just theory. Don't take that as a given. It's just something to think about. If you're up nice this week from the huge price action that we've had as an institution and a desk, and you're going to go away to the lakes for the weekend, are you going to go crazy risk on right now, or are you going to start to manage the risk of your positions? Well, if we actually look at the open interest, which we will do in a second on the order flow chart, you'll see that that adds up as something that they might be doing and seem to have been doing over the last 24 hours. If we do continue to retrace, we obviously have our target levels below. One key one, which again we'll look at on the order flow chart as well because it's a bit easier to see, is the retest of the weekly VWAP. We did get massively overextended from that. It's around 94,400, which, as you can see, aligns very nicely with our buy side imbalance crossover zones here. Failing that, I could see then a breakdown to the monthly value area high and a retest of that at around 94 spot on, which would be around about this zone. And that would be a beautiful area for us to collect some liquidity, retest the zones, find a new local bottom, and then start to put in a move to the upside. But if we don't, guys, you know the levels to the downside here. I put them out plain and simple. But in terms of us getting a more bullish structure, let's look at things more positive. I'd really want to see us break through 96,500, which is the previous day point of control, which is, you know, around about this zone. I want to see us put in a new high here and then start to do something like this. And again, as we mentioned, break into that daily sell side imbalance and push on to above 98K. So let's come over to the order flow chart. As you can see here, if we zoom out, we are again still in a downtrend. So downtrend plus end of the week plus big institutions de-risking, it would tell us that the highest probability trade and the statistically more favorable trades will be looking for shorts to the downside, obviously, and trying to take these from areas where we may be overextended. So things like the daily point of control, potentially a retest of the daily value area high, or even, you know, a fantastic another test of the daily high, which would put in essentially your fifth top here, right? So we've got, you know, I mean, we could even go six. Look at what we're looking at there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'd put in a sixth top and then look to come to trade down and retest the levels that we mentioned when we were looking at the trading view chart. Again, the daily value area low here, 95.4. That aligns with our buy side crossover there. We've also got the daily low, which we'll look to retest. We haven't been smashing through the daily low though, which is something that's very, I won't say very bullish, but more bullish. If you think back to when we were just in nuke only mode, we disrespected the daily lows on a regular, consistently. You know, people were putting in weak bids there. It was almost like it was spot buying or just arbitrary limit orders of people trying to buy it up, being bottom pickers, and they were just instantly getting disrespected. We have seen the daily lows typically hold. So, you know, if you were in a fantastic trade here from the high, coming down to test the daily low, you know, take your profit. I'm not saying you have to close your position entirely. Depends on how the price action is going, you know, how the order flow is moving, but you'd be wanting to take profit there at least, because you're going to be up fantastic. And again, typically the daily lows have been holding, but if they don't, these were the next levels to come down to here, which I mentioned is, you know, potentially a retest of the weekly VWAP and then even a retest of this monthly value area high. And I'm just going to zoom out here to show you the institutional flow, which I was discussing earlier, and about how we've seen people de-risking, and we can see that very easily here looking at the open interest. Okay, so if we look at this was from Thursday, 15th of January. You can see we've just had a constant drop-off, right? Constant drop-off, and price has been consistently in a downtrend. So what is that telling you? It's telling you from Wednesday, the 14th of January until now, open interest has been dropping and the price has been dropping, which tells us what? It tells us that longs have been closing out of their positions. So the people that have been going long have been being removed from the market overall. So again, important bit of narrative going into Friday, going into the weekend, thinking, will we see all of this volume come back towards the end of the week? Will we see people start to go risk on a Friday? Maybe. It's not impossible, but just something to think about. And last thing, I've got the 1 hour chart up here though as well, just looking at the Delta cluster. So you can see here, each time we've come to retest this 95 level, we have some trap traders here, some trap sellers where people were trying to push this price down further and they get absorbed on the footprint. So we can see there is a lot of demand here and people are willing to buy at this zone. So again, something to keep in mind. And if we do start to see sellers finally break through this, what would it suggest to you? It suggests to you that we might want to go for a deeper retest. These are the things we look at. This is why order flow is important, and this is what gives us the picture and gives us the narrative to go into the trading day. And finally, guys, one little play that I want to just put on people's radar. I think PEPE could be in a good zone. We've got, I think anywhere in this zone can be a potentially good area to go long. Again, assuming that Bitcoin is pumping as well, because PEPE moves very in line with Bitcoin. Typically, you know, unless there's some influencer, you know, crime shilling it. But this zone here looks great. Again, if we see continued strength in Bitcoin, we have come and retested this daily buy-side imbalance here around the top. I hate looking at these coins with the ridiculous numbers here, but you can see 5737, and we do actually have a low volume node in this area at 5340, where if we look to retest this and find a nice bounce, you know, you could potentially have an amazing trade to the upside here. You know, 50, 60% to come and retest this here, which is, you know, essentially that level, right? You know, was your previous support before it completely nuked through on the dreaded day. And there we have it, guys. Just keeping the levels up there so everybody can recheck them if you just want to make a note of them before we go. But yeah, keep it stupid simple, play the highest probability plays. And the only thing left to say is good luck, have fun, and I'll see you in the books.